and we're going to focus in on Jaden McDaniels, who was a freshman at UW and was a McDonald's All-American, but he has a lot of game. And when I look at his game, a lot of similarities to one Kevin Durant in terms of his shot and his frame.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with the Kevin Durant. I don't want to call him a poor man's Kevin Durant. I'll just call him like a broke man's Kevin Durant, because I think when you look at Jaden McDaniels, I think he is the biggest, number one, boom or bust of this 2020 NBA draft. The talent is certainly there. The comparisons I get, but will he maximize his ability? When we look at this tape, you're going to see some highs and you're going to see some lows, but the wow factor, some GM is going to take a chance.
Yeah, the NBA is about creating your own shot, and not even just the NBA. Basketball in general is about creating your own shot. And we're going to look at some clips of how the 19-year-old Jaden McDaniels creates his own shot. And I talk about the KD comparison a little bit. You got to be honest, Tim. It's a little bit of KD, maybe the broke man's KD in this play here.
Now, this is big time. No doubt about it. Here was a guy who was a top 10 player in high school. And when you see the skill set, you go, whoa. But the biggest concern with his game is really his maturity. When you watch the tape, you see it and you're like, whoa, this guy's got big time ability. He's got crazy wingspan. He's got a huge upside. But it's like he takes a ton of bad shots. His motor is just okay. And nobody, and I mean nobody, fouled more in the Pac-12. He led the conference in fouls. He had 6 technical fouls. So the talent is there. But can he put it all together? That's why I have him rated number 1. He could be the biggest bust. He could be the biggest boom in this whole draft.
Yeah, he really had an up and down season at Washington. And he's only a freshman, 19 years old. Started 21 games last season, but at the midway point of the season, he started coming off the bench, and he felt that he was more comfortable coming off the bench. And you don't find that often where kids are going to be honest. You're a top 10 guy coming out of high school, and you say, no, I feel more comfortable coming off the bench. But that allowed him to grow and see the game in a different way. And he had a better second half of the season than he did in the first. But these skills here, where he's able to take bigs off the dribble or even smaller guards and just rise above them for shots, is impressive. Watch how he gets those feet behind the line, knows his position on the court, and it doesn't go for the long 2. He just knocks down a smooth 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is against Gonzaga, too. We're talking about one of the top teams in college basketball. You know, the hard thing is when you go from college to the NBA, very similar to high school to college, it's like, well, your role's going to change. You know, you go to an NBA team with veterans, you know, they're just going to let you go like crazy like this, where you're going to be able to take shots and pull up on your own, take step backs. It's like that trust is earned. Now, obviously, he has this ability to do it, and that's a big-time skill set, especially for someone at his size. But I think he said it best when he tweeted out on April 15th. When he was turning pro, he had the caption cam that said, "Roll the dice." And I don't know if he knows it, but that's what I'm thinking when I see GMs, because they're going to roll the dice on this guy because the talent is there. Put the ball on the floor, make a shot, create one-on-one. But are you going to get that constant effort and enthusiasm every single night? Well, I think that's a roll of the dice.
Well, GMs are hoping that they don't crap out. They're hoping that they're hitting that lucky 7. And if they hit that lucky 7, you're looking at a multi-time All-Star in Jaden McDaniels if he's able to grow his game at the next level. But at 6'10", you saw all the skills offensively with the rock in his hands, that he will be a force in the NBA. If he gets his motor up and he learns the game the proper way, he could be a force. That 6'10", with that frame, that length, he's able to get that shot off over smaller or taller defenders. But look at the depth. This is NBA range that he has on this 3 here. Hands ready, down, and a nice high arc and release to get that 3 to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you have this ability at that size, you're going to open up eyes. You threw out Kevin Durant right away. Do you see anything in his shot that reminds you of a Kevin Durant?
Yeah, it's the kind of methodical load up a little bit with Kevin Durant. You see how he sticks that ball out just a little bit on these threes? There's that slow methodical load up that you have, right? Shoulders are always square, which I love that KD is a master at. but he also gets a nice solid base to get that jump shot off. And those are the similarities that I see in the jump shots of Kevin Durant and Jaden McDaniels. But he has to get that percentage up if he wants to shoot like Kevin Durant. He only shot 33% from three at UW last season.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch guys like Durant, when I watch Jaden McDaniels, when I watch their highlight tape, I fear that when I'm like an old man in my rocking chair, still watching sports, I'm gonna fear that like everybody is 6'11", like shooting guards are 6'11", and centers are 7'4", and they're shooting threes. And I'm gonna be like, do you remember the days when there were 6'2" point guards? Like, is the game gonna evolve that much? Because this is a perfect example of a guy who grew up in a different era that worshiped and kind of idolized different types of players that, you know, if he would have grew up in the 80s at this size, they would have stuck him under the basket. Instead, now he's been able to evolve his game, step out on the perimeter. You see all the tools and why he's so intriguing to scouts. He shoots it really easy. The game comes really easy for him. He had a massive game against Baylor earlier this year, Cam. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. Let's not forget, Baylor was number one for a majority of the college basketball season. So he can score against big-time opponents. And when you're a shot maker, you're a big-time intrigue prospect.
And one of the big things about being a shot maker, you got to have it in here, inside. It's got to be some confidence. And this is how he shoots the basketball, with confidence. Now, although he shot 33% from three-point range, he still isn't hesitant when he catches that basketball to raise up and fire. One of the things that I love about Jaden's game, Tim, is his athleticism. And it's sneaky because you see how he shoots his jump shot. It's a little methodical. Not much explosion on the bounce. But when he gets to the rim, he goes to another level and another gear. And that's something that can translate to the NBA when he gets there. And this is one of my favorite clips here. Watch him catch this basketball, and before you know it, he's up to the rim, and he's just throwing that thing down. I mean, that's a young Tim Doyle right there, right?
Yeah, like my Nerf hoop on the back of my door at my crib and stuff growing up. Yeah, that is a young Tim Doyle for sure, and maybe not on 10 feet. Here's the biggest thing that I look at on film. When he wants to, the energy, the effort, it's there. And now, are you the coach that's able to pull it out of him every single possession? Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, there are signs that he can do it all. And that's why he was a top 10 player in high school. That's why he was one of the top recruits in the country. That's why someone is going to roll the dice on him and take a gamble, because that effort has not been consistent. The laziness on defense, the immaturity with all the technical fouls. He had 6 of them. No one in the Pac-12 had more of them. And it just seems like, you know, he always wants to stare you down, let you know how great it is. It's like, once in a while, you got to show that maturity and just let your game do the talking. So he's got a world to go. He's a young kid. But the fact that he went to the bench for an extended period of time just shows me you don't see one and done guys, Cam, going to the bench unless there are some alternative reasons.
Right, 100%. And I think that goes along with him growing and maturing. He's only 19 years old, so that will come in time. But you want them to be able to be in positions where if they're struggling or they have challenges, that they're pulling themselves out of those struggles or those holes. And that's what the NBA is. You're going to have off nights. You're going to have maybe weeks where you're struggling, but it's up to you to really work on your game and pull yourself out of it, not only physically, but also mentally. But this situation here where you see on this play is a great job of him doing his inner Scottie Pippen, right? Remember, Scottie is one of those guys that started the chase down block, and now this generation knows that LeBron is famous for the chase down block, but he does a solid job of hunting down the ball handler and blocking the shot without fouling. So when he wants to, and you said that's a great point, Tim, when he wants to, he can be a threat on both ends of the floor. It has to be consistent, though.
Yeah, and that's kind of when you do a deep dive into the NBA and you look at guys that have had, you know, outstanding careers, all-star type careers, you got to have that chip on your shoulder, right? You look at guys that maybe didn't go to high-profile schools, they're still out there, whether it's Steph Curry or Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum, like they're still out there trying to prove themselves because they weren't top 10 high school players like McDaniels. Maybe they weren't handed everything like McDaniels. And like maybe if McDaniels could find that dog in him in workouts, in practice, getting better, This guy could be an all-star in the NBA. He has that much potential, but will that convert and be a reality? That's the roll of the dice.